Hi, everyone.
Hi.
My name is Ana Moya. I'm a professional development specialist with ISAC, but you guys have seen me a ton.
Yeah, I'm Manny. I'm also a professional development specialist at ISAC. You might have seen me a couple of times too as well.
Today, we wanted to try something new. We wanted to make it a little bit more interactive because we wanted to show you our website, the student portal, ISAC Student Portal, not our website, just so that you guys can become familiar with the different resources that we have available. But I'm not very tech savvy, and I couldn't figure it out, so I apologize about that. So yeah, we have our student portal. The student portal is for students. It has different types of resources and tools available for students. Everything from kind of like where to find assistance for if you need to find a food pantry, all the way to if you need to find an ISAC core member. So we have all of those resources through the ISAC student portal. I know my favorite part of it, we have a tool in there which we're going to talk about all of the tools. It's an award letter comparison tool. That's got to be my favorite thing as an ISAC core member that I like literally utilized and had the students complete with me when I work with students. Do you have like a favorite tool?
Well, before I get into what is my favorite tool, one of the neat things that I like about the Student Portal website, students can access it through their mobile phone, so it's their tablet, cell phone, desktop, laptop, and it has a sort of mobile-friendly interface. So the sort of version will look the same, and so it's very interactive. My favorite thing personally is the financial aid Jeopardy game.
Oh yeah.
In part because anytime I play that with students, whether they think they know it all or they don't, they seem to really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Even though Jeopardy is a little bit far back to what they can recall, but they still seem to enjoy that activity. I think maybe more because of the competitiveness of the game. I split them up into teams. I often bring a prize, like some chocolate, and be surprised what students will do for chocolate.
I was gonna say kids are so competitive, and if it gets them to learn a little bit, I'm all for it. Especially the financial aid game that he's referring to. It comes in 2 different levels. So if you're at home, you're a parent and you want to test out your student to see their knowledge or test out your own knowledge, there's 2 levels. I think it's a fun activity to kind of like go through it yourself. One for like what's the name of the first level?
Should be beginner.
And he has it pulled up on his tab on his iPad, and that is what it looks like, and that is for the financial aid game.
It's kind of hard to see, but
yeah,
with the glare and whatnot, but you can kind of trying to position it.
I don't know.
I'm trying to position it where you can kind of see it. This is our version of screen sharing, but you can see sort of the different levels, and also the categories and sort of
and our logo.
The value points.
Yeah. But yeah, that is a fun game, and I think as an ISAC core member, I also like to bring it as an activity for students to do. So if you're a parent or maybe you're a teacher or a counselor watching this, it is a fun activity for students to do.
Yeah, I'm actually going to quiz Anna right now. So I'm just going to randomly pick one. And so essentially it goes from 200 to 1,000. And so I'm just going to pick the middle one, so 600. Let's see if you can get this right. High school students who reach and complete blank are more likely to succeed in college. Is it A, algebra? Is it B, geometry? Is it C, algebra 2? Or is it D, statistics?
Ooh, algebra 2.
Algebra 2? And it will notify her that sorry, it's kind of hard to see again. But it will notify her that she got it. All right, well, I'm gonna stop trying to share the screen, but it'll notify that she got it correct. And if she were to exit out of or if a student were to exit out of that box, they'll see their score and they can continue to track their score.
Well, let me try it with you. Let's see. Let's pick a question for you. Let's do a 600 level question too. What are the main sources of financial aid? Is it A, only the state and federal governments? Is it B, state and federal governments and colleges? Is it C, state and federal governments, colleges, and private organizations? Or D, state and federal governments, colleges, private organizations, and parents?
So the main sources of financial aid, and so state and federal governments is one of the larger sources. And we also think about institutions can also award funds, and also parents or savings accounts, students, account and source funds and so forth, nonprofit organizations and private organizations. So I'm going to go with D. Oh, it'll indicate that I got it wrong because the answer is state, federal, colleges, and private organizations.
Yeah, so I think oftentimes when we're thinking about money and how to get money, yeah, my first thought would have been my parents giving me money for college. But if we're really thinking about financial aid, what it entails, and one comes in an award letter, yeah, it would be state and federal government, colleges, and private resource organizations as well. But good try. I would have guessed parents too. Other things that are available through the student portal is going to be our ISAC programs. This is one of the things where not all of the applications to the programs we have available for students are on here, but the majority of them are. We have, if you guys go through the student portal, thank you, we have under the ISAC programs, we have a little tab where students can check, and this is something I didn't know. When I was in school, I didn't know if I could check. I didn't even know I could track my MAP or credit hours. But there's a tab on there that lets you track how many hours of MAP paid credit hours the student has utilized. It also has the 2 tabs for the Illinois National Guard grant. It has one to check the status of it and another one for the student to complete the application. Then we have the Illinois Veteran Grant. We're also going to have the tab to check the status and also to start the application. The one that we get the most questions about is going to be the Minority Teachers of Illinois. Again, we have to check the status and to start the application. So pretty much this is going to be a scholarship sort of program that's available for students who are interested in becoming teachers. They do have to be considered a minority student. And also the only thing to keep in mind about any teaching scholarship when they're looking into getting it is, one, if it's coming from the federal government or the state government, which is going to be the Minority Teachers of Illinois, or students can often hear teachers and counselors refer to it as the MTI, is that some of these loans, some of these scholarships do turn into loans if the student doesn't meet certain teaching requirement after they receive this one. So do be careful with this. Then there's also, as of recently, the grant program for exonerees for them to apply there. As of January 1st, 2020, we're also going to have the RISE Act application, which is going to be the state state financial aid application for students who meet certain criteria who otherwise wouldn't qualify to complete the FAFSA. Do you have another favorite tab of yours or something that you like to work with students?
Sure. So you've mentioned I mentioned the college Jeopardy game, the financial aid Jeopardy game. We just talked about where you can sort of track your progress and track how much MAP credit hours have been paid towards. And then we talked about the sort of what I refer to as, so when we think about award letters, they can all come in different shapes, colors, and sizes. Yeah. And so our financial award letter worksheet kind of puts it all into one we could really understand it. And so that was the first thing that we talked about. If I were a student and I wouldn't know who to contact, or I wouldn't know if there was a local event, say in my area, we do have an event calendar which has any event that is public that students and their parents can attend. And they can find an event near their area by checking their zip code. So let's see if we were to check a zip code. Let's check 60015. And if we were to click go,
we're working with a little bit of hotspot, so it's a little slow. But yeah, if we click go, it'll show us if there are any events open to the public hosted by the ISAC Corps. If you guys are not familiar with the ISAC Corps, I know we keep if you've been tuning into our Facebook Live events, we keep referencing the ISAC Corps and how great of a resource it is for students, because it is a free resource for students, teachers, and parents. So the ISAC Corps, pretty much, they're near peer mentors. We were ISAC Corps members. They get trained in the financial aid. Sometimes I was known as the FAFSA lady at the schools I I worked at, just because I did help them a lot with the FAFSA. But beyond just helping with the FAFSA, they also know a lot about the college application process, and they know how to help students look for scholarships and apply for financial aid in general. They did just go through the college going process themselves. They're recent college graduates, so they're a really great resource. I think in order for someone to help someone, it is a great resource when they have gone through their experience or recently gone through the experience themselves. So if you guys have any questions, or you guys want to reach out to them, or like we said, if you guys want to see if there are any events open to it, through our student portal, you are able to see any events that are hosted by the ISAC core members that are open to the public that you can attend and actually get one-on-one assistance, or just in general ask questions.
Yeah, the neat thing about the event calendar is that it'll indicate sort of what event is happening. So it's like, here's an event happening in here. You show up and it's like, oh, well, it's a FAFSA completion workshop.
And you
I already completed your
FAFSA.
FAFSA, so why am I here?
Yeah.
And so, for example, when I search the zip code 60015, one date is on the 16th of January. That's an info table up in Gurnee. And then on Thursday, January 23rd is the next steps after submitting a FAFSA. And that's in Spanish. So it'll indicate which workshops are being held in English or in Spanish. And it'll indicate sort of who's going to be there, and I have a nice screenshot of that core member. So if you were to attend that event and say, okay, well, who would I be looking for? Who would I be working with? You'll be able to see the students or the core member there. And so it makes that sort of interaction a little bit easier to happen, because then you've already seen their face, you know what they look like. So if you show up to the event like, oh, I know you work for ISAC, you're a core member.
Yeah. And then also, I think you just brought it up again too, that it does tell you that if you're looking for an event in Spanish, like that's such a great resource for those Spanish speakers. I know oftentimes my mom didn't get the resources she needed in Spanish. So if you are looking for an event, or maybe if it's not so much near you, but you know someone that's going to speak Spanish is going to be there, definitely take advantage of that. Nice. What else do we like? Oh, well, as part of the finding an event near you, you can also find the ISAC core member near you. So maybe, let's say the ISAC core member, you haven't met them or you haven't been aware of them. If you go to the ISAC core tab, this is where it's going to have like kind of like two tabs in there. One of them is going to be the ISAC core tab. The other one's going to be the events tab. For the ISAC core tab, again, you're going to type in the zip code, and then it's going to show you based on your zip code. Sometimes if you're in the Chicagoland area, for whatever reason, it pulls up all of the ISAC core members in the Chicagoland area. They're actually broken down by districts, community college districts. So if you do type in a Chicagoland area zip code and you're overwhelmed by all of the people that you see on it, you don't even know who to contact, under their whatever the ISAC core picture is going to core member picture is going to tell you what community college they're assigned to. You simply choose the one that's closest to you or that you know would belong to your district, and then that's the one that you should contact. But if you happen to contact the wrong one, they're all super nice and friendly. They would just simply put you in contact with the one closest to you or assist you over the phone.
Yeah, and so there are a lot of community college districts in Illinois, and so we try to have core members in each district.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, do you mind sharing which community college district you worked in as a core member?
I was in the Trident district, and I wasn't alone. I had district partners as well. So if you didn't see me, if you were part of the Trident district high school area, and you didn't see me, it's because I also had other core members who worked with me in the Trident district. What part were you from?
I was in the Malcolm X Community College District.
Ooh, very busy Chicagoland area, and two Spanish speakers. So you all actually might have seen us. But yeah, we love working with students, and I know the ISAC core members love working with students. So you should definitely reach out to them. What's something else that we like about it? We like a lot of that. There's a lot on their website, so we only have 30 minutes to go through it. We also have, as part of, which tab was this one? The toolbox.
The toolbox.
So the financial aid game that we talked about at the beginning and kind of went through a little bit was under the toolbox. As part of the toolbox, we also have internships and summer jobs. This is going to be a tool for students who are looking for like summer jobs or internships in the state of Illinois. So it does narrow the search down for students. It lets them know when it was posted, the area that it belongs to. So so the student can search by that, and it lets them know the type of position, and then they're able to click through it and see the application and where to apply. And it gives them a little job description too. So it is a really great tool. Students actually get to know what they're applying for. And let's say if the student is away for college and they're thinking of going back home and getting a summer job there, then that's something that, looking at the location, you definitely want to know where you want to apply to, because you want to be back home for the summertime. Well, the student might want to be back home for the summertime and apply for that. So it is definitely a great tool.
Yeah, I mean, internships are a great way to get experience.
Yes.
And sometimes they can be paid as well. So it's a double benefit, getting a little bit of experience and not fully committing yourself to a job. Because interning and actually having unemployment there, two different sort of relationships to sort of juggle. And so having that opportunity to sort of what we refer to as like the foot in the door, where you get a little bit of experience, see what it's like, the work culture, but not just that, but actually that particular career that the student is interested in, because it's easier, because as an intern, well, you may or may not get paid, but it's not a full-on commitment like employment, where you didn't really get a chance to intern. You don't really know what you're getting yourself into except from what you've read through the articles or the career cluster surveys and interest surveys that you've completed. But then it turns out when you are actually in the job that you may not like it. And so interning is a great way to sort of get a little bit of that exposure, a little bit of experience before sort of fully committing yourself into a career.
And there are, I know when people think about internships, they think like unpaid internships, and automatically that's something that, you know, it's a little scary, especially when you're trying to like finance your college degree. I personally didn't have an internship, but I know a lot of my friends who did have internships, and it ended up being sort of like that experience you just talked about. They realized that whatever field they were going to, it really wasn't for them, or it wasn't what they thought they wanted. So it is a great experience for them to, like, you could kind of play around with what you do. Even we talked about work study, federal work study last time. That's also a great experience to kind of like feel it out. Feel out if you're going to be in that career, what it's going to be like, what type of jobs you're going to have available for you. And then if it's really going to be for you, because ultimately it is an investment. Your education is an investment that you're making. So yeah.
Another thing in terms of what's in the toolbox that we really like, trying to open it back up, is the college checklist. And so I have a paper version with me. But a student will be, I mean, it's not going to look like that if a student were to print it out, but students these days are more...
This is something that parents love.
Right. I mean, the older you are, you tend to like a physical copy of things, but with students being so used to the digital era, paperless generation, and so forth. But the checklist is broken down to different grade levels. And so this is essentially a college preparation checklist where students are going sort of freshman year. So if I were to pull up the freshman tab, it'll indicate, so that I meet with my high school counselor, and it also indicates sort of what time frame, when should I do that. And this indicates sort of the first month of school. The next one is, for example, identify a possible community service opportunity, May 1st. And so students can sort of check that. They can also print that out as well. So if they wanted to print it out for their parents or even for themselves, they can go ahead and do so. The most comprehensive list is their senior year, in part because they got so many things going on, so many things to juggle. It's not just about applying to colleges, but it's also finishing off their academic year strong.
Yeah.
I know we hear of senioritis. It affects everyone rather differently. So I've had some friends in high school that clocked out the moment senior year began.
Yeah.
And I've had some that it was within a week or two of school being over, or of graduation. They're like, you know what, I am done. But you don't want that to happen, because you don't want your grades to slip. You want to finish. You want to start the year strong. You want to make sure you finish the year strong too, because it's a myth that colleges only look at your junior year. Your junior year is the most important year. In fact, they look at sort of your whole high school curriculum, all the activities in which you participated, the type of classes that you took during your tenure in high school, but also sort of your grades, not just your GPA per semester, per academic year, but also cumulative. So it's looking at the entire average from freshman year to senior year. And the checklist is a great way to sort of keep track of things as well. Holds us accountable. It holds us accountable because we see this as something that we need to do. And so we may have to check that off. If not, then find.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, not only like checking out mentally, but also I think oftentimes myself, personal experience, I was a good student, but I wasn't really doing anything freshman, sophomore. It wasn't until my junior year that I thought, let me get started in my college going process. So just having this checklist, even at the freshman level, it just gives you some items that, you know, you could like spread out the work a little bit more. Don't be like me. Don't get to junior and senior year and have all of the things on the checklist for freshman and sophomore year all to be completed on my junior and senior year. I don't know about you, but that was definitely my experience. So I think the nice thing about the checklist, we love checklists at ISAC, is that the students can spread out the work a little bit, and it gives them something to kind of start exploring during their freshman and sophomore year. So if your student has no idea what they want to do, it does give them things like I think you mentioned meeting with counselors, visiting some college campuses. It's things that are simple enough that you wouldn't think that are part of the post-secondary career process, but it's in there, and it's important things and details that students should be doing. So it's a really nice checklist.
Good points. They're very doable tasks.
Yes.
It may seem daunting because like, oh my gosh, what if I didn't do something? It's not meant to do that. It is sort of a process that students can kind of follow along. And especially if a student were to come across this in 8th grade, they can kind of say, okay, well, this is what high school is going to be like academically, and these are some things that I can do to sort of prepare myself to get into college. Because preparing for college just doesn't happen in their senior year. It doesn't happen in their junior year when they're taking standardized tests.
Yeah.
It happens as early as possible.
Yeah, so get them started, and it's a nice checklist. The other thing that we have as part of our student portal is going to be resources. 2 things that are currently, well, I've always been a fan of. The first one is going to be College Greenlight. We had a whole session on this last Facebook Live, but pretty much it's going to be a free scholarship search engine for students. If they go through our student portal, they're going to see, they're going to be able to look through scholarships. They're not going to see advertisements. So it's a nice tool because they won't see advertisements. They won't click on anything they shouldn't. And then students are able to see how competitive a scholarship is.
I was gonna see how compatible they are to that scholarship. So
I was making fun of that word the other day, and now it's stuck in my head. So how competitive a scholarship is, they're gonna be able to see how much work they have to put into it. I always told my students, it's Thanksgiving break. Yeah, you don't want to be thinking about doing work, but at the same, because it's a break. But if you're gonna find a scholarship that you know, because of how you set up your profile, that there's not gonna be a lot of work going into it, like, why not? Just do it. There's scholarships that literally require you to take pictures of like 10 cans you plan to recycle. Like, what a great thing to do, especially Thanksgiving if your family's coming over and you have like tons of cans because you're drinking pop or whatever. Just recycle. 1, recycle. 2, take a picture and enter a scholarship.
Yeah, because there are different sort of requirements for each scholarships. Not all of them require an essay.
Yeah.
I'm very passionate about scholarships because when I was in high school, I filled out maybe 1 or 2 scholarships, and the rest of them never applied to me. That's what I told my mother. My mother would always tell me, sign up, apply for scholarships, and I would always say, none of them apply to me. I already looked.
Yeah.
But the reality was I never looked. And so that was a sad part. And so College Greenlight is a great way for students to start. And for students who are a little bit daunted by that processing a bunch of applications, or they may not see a list that's very well detailed as to other students may have a more extensive matched list. What I always tell students to think about sort of over the last few businesses or places that they visited and check to see if they have any scholarships available, or if they can't remember where they've been in the last couple of days. They can sort of think about what are the last few products that they've used. So if they drink a can of Coke, okay, well, Coca-Cola has a scholarship, and things like that. So they can start thinking about last few places that they visited, last few products that they've used. That's often a great way to start. And once you start sort of thinking about the types of scholarships that are out there, I would recommend the students to not get sort of caught sort of in the scholarships that are really large.
Yeah.
Because that often means a lot of the little scholarships, and I'm really hesitant to use the word little because it's still like 500 or 1,000, which is a lot of money. But the students are looking at the 10,000, the 20,000, and they want their own tuition paid, so they're only applying to those. Or when they see the process of those kinds of scholarships, they're often sort of hesitant to apply because it's very extensive, and they don't want to apply for a $500 one because they don't need they need their whole tuition paid for. But the thing is those little amounts add up. And so if a student were to take an hour and they won that $500 scholarship, well, that's essentially
$500 an hour.
A $500 an hour job. And that's the thing, we want our students to sort of treat this as a job and commit to it, and make sure that they're taking your time and submit those applications, because you never know until you submit them.
Looking back at it, I'd really appreciate, like, if that was my only worry in high school, like applying for scholarships to pay for it, I'd really appreciate a $500 an hour reward for it. So
I know that now that I've had to pay for it and continue to pay for it.
Yeah. So, well, College Greenlight lets you see the amounts. It gives you the link. It gives you all of that. So definitely look for those, because even if they are smaller, it does pay off, like we just broke it down. Also, speaking of money and having the value of money, claim your future. You might have played it, your student might have played it at school, because we do have some physical wheels to play the game, but also the online version I love playing. Even with some downtime, I'll go through it. One of the things my dad mostly would tell me is that it's really easy for me to spend their money, because if I have to buy something, if I really like something and I really want it and it's really expensive, I'm okay with my dad buying it. If I really want something and it's really expensive and I have to pay for it, then like I kind of like think about it a little bit deeper. Claim your future. It's one of those things, because it's what it is. It's a game. Students get to go through it. They get a career selected for them randomly. Lets them know what type of education they'll need to get that career. It also lets them know kind of like a little breakdown of student loans, savings, and then it really has them walk through life, because it makes them budget for kind of life. It gives them their monthly income that they're going to have available every month. So they have to budget for housing, their transportation, if they're going to have internet, which is like it's essential now. Like I cannot imagine not having internet for the work that I do. And then students get to see the different housing options, the different transportation options. And then there's like a little bar on top that lets them keep track of the money they have left. I love it. I personally always pick like the most expensive options, and it really puts things into perspective, because I have to come back and kind of like go back to the cheapest option in order to afford it.
Yeah, and one of the reasons I really love Claim Your Future is that it just focuses on one piece of the career, which is the financial side.
Yeah.
Now, it's not to say that that's the most important piece or that's the only piece that students should be considering, but if you look at career inventories or different sort of activities where students are looking at entire job descriptions and different educational requirements and what the skills are needed for the job, or what sort of attributes are needed to be successful in that job, and then looking at salary projections, that's very overwhelming to look at all at once to process. And so if students were to look at a particular position within a career that they're interested in, a career cluster that they're interested in, they can sort of see it and piece all of that together. And so it's really helpful to take and sort of break down different careers by looking at sort of, okay, well, we're going to have a very small or brief idea as to what this job entails, but we're also going to see, okay, how much money is going to be coming my way, and how am I going to budget that money. And we want to be careful too, because with these jobs, there are about 100 different jobs online, and so I always encourage students to not necessarily focus on the jobs that are high paying, the jobs that students get, they can select their own job, but the first job that they get is selected randomly.
Yeah.
I tell students to have fun with the activity. This is not a draw of, say, this is the kind of job you're going to have for the rest of your life. No, that's not what Claim Your Future is about. It's just really knowing about sort of how to stretch your money and how important it is to save your money. Because one of the first things which I absolutely love about this activity is that the first thing that happens is that money gets saved and the students cannot change that amount. Now, of course, we know in real life,
student loans get paid.
Right. And we know in real life, we could decide how much we want to save, whether we don't want to save or we do want to save. And so there is a pre-assessment, a post-assessment that asks students and sort of gets them thinking about saving, a couple questions about college. And so the whole point of this activity, again, is to just start that conversation. Or if they've already thought about what they wanted to do as a career, well, start thinking about, once you start earning money, because eventually it's going to happen, they're not going to be in school forever. Sort of once they start earning, whether they start earning $60,000, $80,000, $40,000, $120,000, how are they going to be able to stretch that as far as possible? Because you could have leftover money making $30,000, and you can have no money when you're even making $120,000. And so, as the saying goes, the more you earn, the more you spend. And so it's just always about being smart with your money.
And it makes you so mindful. And like you said, there are going to be careers on there that students automatically want because they think they're going to make a lot of money. But then you'll be surprised. There's some careers in there that require like little to no college afterwards that make a lot of money. I forgot which one it was that I looked at the other day, but it required like a 6-month certificate, and they were making like $120,000. And I was just like, well, you know, you never know, and it does get students thinking. So if you did get selected one at random, it is pretty cool. We're running out of time. Well, we've run out of time, but there are a lot of resources available through our student portal. I highly suggest that you check it out. There is a brief description for everything. The last thing I'm going to point out, just because you pointed out senioritis earlier, for those students who check out ISAC College Q&A, we're going to leave the number down below for you guys to be able to text it. You simply text a number on your that corresponds to your area code. Manny here, he's always prepared, so he has also, can I see it, the card for it. We have all of the numbers. We'll put it out for you guys. So pretty much, if you think you're going to be one of the students that's going to have senioritis, or if you think your student has senioritis, and you don't want them to check out, you want them to successfully transition to college and have all the processes ready. We talked about verification last time. Just have them text their name, sign up for it. If they have any questions, just ask the question. If they don't have any questions, they can simply be signed up for it. And they'll get kind of like little nudges and reminders that lets them know how they're doing with the college going process. You're right.
Recovering from a little cold.
We're trooping through it. So it'll remind them about the college process that they have to be, items in the college going process that they have to be completing. It lets them know, it reminds them every year that they have to, when the FAFSA opens up, it lets them know about our MAP suspension day. It's just a really great tool, and it sends them reminders through the summertime. So I highly suggest it, that your student signs up for it. So like I said, we're gonna leave the number down below. I am a little bit sad. This is going to be our last Facebook Live event for 2019. I'm sure we'll be drafting our schedule for the 2020 school, for the 2020 year, fall of 2020 soon. But please feel free to share. Leave us any questions. We'll come back and answer your questions too. Just because it's the last Facebook event, it doesn't mean that it's the last you'll see of us. You can always reach out to us as well. Or I highly suggest reaching out to your local ISAC Corps member as well. Do you have any parting words?
No, just typing up the text message numbers.
All right, well, that is all for today. Check out the student portal. And yeah, save for college. And apply for the small scholarships. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, I'm picking that up.
All right, bye everyone.
Bye.